Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ronald Tingman. I'm a foster parent. I've been a foster parent for 5 years. And I was introduced to FPA through a false allegation. And pretty much I'm still working with my boys. I'm still fighting to try to get them back at this point. But everything is so far being successful with the help of these two girls right here. I really appreciate both of you. I really do, because when I need you, you step right in, and things happen. Things really happen. And I'm only saying that because, you know, most people look at it like I'm a single man, you know what I'm saying? And they don't really give us the support as a man because they figure, oh, that's a woman's job. But actually, it's everybody's job. You understand what I'm saying? And I thank them for being in my life, really, because they help me and they get me through this situation, and it's working out pretty well. And I thank y'all again. Can't thank you enough.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tamika Willis. I have been a foster parent for 2.5 years now with Grand Wyndham Agency. I have a son right now that's currently about to be going to college, and I had decided to become a foster parent because I wanted to give back to children who are in need. I currently have 2 children in my home, and my experience has been very, very difficult with trying to get support from the agency that I'm currently with. The experience that I have had been being a foster parent is that the caseworkers have no respect for foster parents, and they tend to take things personal and not professional. When I voice my concerns about things, I am viewed as negative or very confrontational, which should not be the case. I am a grown adult that is licensed by the state to take care of children in need and should not be treated only with respect and dignity. The agency consistently changes the policy and procedures to benefit themselves and not for the foster parents. They don't really follow the foster parent manual. Their job is supposed to be to support us foster parents and to help the children, but I have had lack of support. I feel as though they didn't act sometimes in the best interest of the child. I find that the caseworkers do not respect the job that we do as foster parents, and I have had 2 caseworkers come into my home and be, you know, just very disrespectful towards me and my home. And as professionals, they should come into the home and show respect to us that are taking on the responsibility as a role as acting as that child's parent, and we're caring for them and loving these children, and they just aren't doing that. They come into the home and tend to want to just pretty much control you, tell you how to do things in your home, like if you're not a parent and like you have never raised children of your own, to try to control you, in other words, you know, and tell you what they feel that how you should be raising them and how you should be just pretty much telling you just things that is not in their job description as far as us being parents, and they are caseworkers, you know. And I came to FPA Foundation because I needed someone to help support me with the things that they were doing against me in my home and trying to control me and mistreat me. And I'm very grateful that the work that they have done with me, for me, and supported me, and they have my back all the way. And I'm very, very grateful to have met such wonderful people and such a great organization. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Regina Jenkins, and I've been with FPA since the end of January due to an OSI case that was called upon me that should not have been called upon me because my child did not get hurt in my home. She got hurt in a daycare. They didn't inform me, nor did they do a report like they were supposed to, so an OSI case was called against me. As an educator for 22 years, that is not something I need. I've been a foster parent for 8 years. Never, ever had I had a child hurt or abused or mistreated in my home. I've had them from 10 days old to 10 years old. I've had girls and boys. I've had chemically dependent children. I've had neglected children. And every single child in my home, once they left, if I was able to, I kept in contact with them. I have one that's 18 now. He still calls me mom. I have one that's 4 today that I got her when she was 16 days old. She still calls me mom, and I get her almost every weekend or any kind of time that I may want to spend with her. Her mother's more than happy to let her spend time with me. You don't do that with people who don't care. I believe I've shown it through the 8 years that I've been with this agency. I have 3 children of my own. I was a single parent, married but single. My husband was in the military, so he was gone 90% of the time. So I consider myself a single parent. But I have 3 sons. One of them is in college right now. One is in the National Guard. I don't have time to be abusing nobody's children. As a former foster child, as Ms. Hooper had stated in her speech, I had a good home. And therefore, this is my way of giving back. And I believe it's my destiny. I believe it's my calling. And I don't do this for the money. There's no way in the world there's enough money for what we have to do for these children. And therefore, I do this from my heart. I don't want to get emotional. But when someone takes information, there was an OSI case called against my son. It ended up being unfounded. I was never the subject of this investigation. But this last OSI case that was called in against me, they used information from another report that's supposed to be sealed. And they used it against me. And they was able to close my home over that crap. But I will be fighting this for myself, for my children. My home will be reopened. I will have more foster children, and eventually one day I will be an adoptive mother, because that's my purpose. That's my purpose. And FPA, the women's spirit, you can't help but be a part of. You can't help but want to be a part of, because they have the most beautiful spirit. They give Ms. Matthews straight up. She tells you like it is, and I appreciate that. But also she has the information that as a foster parent for 8 years, when she was telling me stuff, I'm like, are you serious? They didn't tell me that. They took my kids out the same night that the OSI case was called in. I had 10 days for that to be disputed. Do you think I knew that? Absolutely not. Because I've never been down this road. And unfortunately, I'm going down it with a bulldozer. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I'm not one to rock a boat. You know, I speak up. But right now, like I told Ms. Matthews, I'm in this all the way. I'm fighting this for myself. I'm fighting this for my other foster parents. And what I'm most disturbed about today is there should be many more foster parents in here. When my OSI case was going on, there were 5 of us. 5 of us that was going through. At least 4 others should be here. And it's not that they didn't know, because I went twice with our flyers, and when I got there, they already had them. So there's no reason for them not to be here. I took off from work today, because this was not going to happen without me being here. But the bottom line is there should be more foster parents. If you want to do this right, you have to get the information. I'm not knocking my foster parent advocate at the agency, but she doesn't, either she doesn't know, or she's just in a predicament where she can't say but so much. I got you. But during this case, and I'm almost done, during my case, everybody wants to talk to you off the record. Everybody wants to say off the record. Or they have amnesia. They don't remember that happening. Well, I remember. And, you know, when the commissioner or whoever is coming, I'm going to ask them, it's a conflict of interest to speak to the people who have hired you, trained you, that can give you the best information about who you are and what you've been doing, but you want to talk to my kids. You want to talk to my job. You want to talk to everybody but the people who really know, who should be called upon to find out what kind of person I am. Who puts in a baby, a 3-month-old in a home that they're abusing the children? Who offers you adoptive rights if the children are being TPR'd for you to be the resource? Who does that? Nobody. So bottom line is, I'm fighting this, like I said, because it's my life that we're talking about. It's the children that God has planned for me to take care of in my future. It's my own children's lives I'm dealing with. And it's also my profession. I've been in the education system for 22 years. I'm not about to lose that. That's my retention, that's my retirement and everything else. Not about to lose it. Not over somebody being so underhanded that you can use information that's irrelevant to make it relevant so you can have a case. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. My name is Dijon Bowie. I'm an adoptive parent. My situation is a little bit unique in that I worked in the foster care system. I started out as a home finder in the foster care system. I was a therapeutic home finder, and I was a traveling dog and pony show. And I felt like I needed to not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. So I decided to become a foster parent. I opened my home for teenagers only because I feel like I could do that. And I had experienced so many people saying that they weren't interested in teenagers. I have a good rapport with teenagers, and I do really well with teenagers. So I opened my home. I foster parented a total of 4 children within 7 years. Because I worked in the foster care system, I was very knowledgeable. I'm very knowledgeable about the policy and the practice. I know ACS policy, and I know who to call. I know what administrators to call. So my situation was very unique. I advocated for my children. I held agency accountable. You could not do visits and bring your husband downstairs. You could not talk to my children in the hallway about their case. You could not go to their after-school program and do a 5-minute visit because you were on your way home because you lived in New Jersey. I held them accountable. I foster parented 4 children. 1 graduated from college and aged out of care. The other one left my home and became a nurse. The other one, I was unable to care for her and give her the level of care that she needed because she really needed to be in a home with no other children. I recruited someone in my family to step up and take this child. The last child I adopted. I have a do not recommend. The reason why I have a do not recommend is because I held workers accountable. I did not make lunch because you were coming to my home because I wanted to fill my apartment with children. My home is not a 3-hot and a cot place. We are a family. My children were never hospitalized. I had therapeutic children, in the years that I had them, no one ever went to the hospital. No one ever went on respite. No one ever AWOL'd. I had teenagers who did not stay out at night. All of my children deemed successful, but I have a do not recommend after I adopted my child and asked for my home to be closed because I know too much. Because I know who to call, and I know what to do and how to hold them accountable. It's really unfortunate, and there has to be a new mechanism that comes into play because it's unfortunate that an agency can decide we're just not recommending. Next to my name with the do not recommend, there is no narrative that says why they don't recommend me. They don't recommend me because I know too much. I know when I became a home finder, I was told do not certify any social workers and any teachers because they advocate too much and they know too much. It's really unfortunate when you have children who you've fostered and have done well. My children have done well. I've never had an issue. My children, no one's ever made an allegation against me. I've never had, like I said, never an AWOL, never a hospitalization. I've never even had to ask for a respite. My children come in the home and they stay. And we are a family. And it's really unfortunate. And ACS has to look at that policy of how they allow agencies to make this decision. And they'll tell you this is a job. So if this is a job, then where is your cause to give me a do not recommend? The other thing, like this young lady said, is that there's advocates within the agency. Unfortunately, those advocates are advocating for you, however, they work for the agency, and they're in a catch-22 situation, and it's just, that's a conflict of interest, the advocates. So I learned about FPA because the word is out there. And I knew about it from working in the field. I knew that there is an organization out there that you can go to and for families to go to if they have difficulties. But there is really, something really has to be done about one person making a decision not to recommend, especially a successful foster parent.
Okay, wonderful. Let's give them another round of applause, please. It's not an easy task to get up here and to share your story and to share your testimony. And I want to just apologize. I did not introduce Ms. Bowie, and thank you for coming up here and contributing and sharing your story. At this time, does anyone have any questions for any of the panel members? No questions at all?
My name is Marcy Hamilton. I'm a foster parent, and I would like to share with everyone in this room. My name is Marcy Hamilton, I'm a foster parent, and I would like to share something with everyone in this room, and I would like to ask the panel if it sounds familiar. Another foster parent who I know told me, she says, the relationship between my caseworker and I and the children was lovely, it was fine. Until I started to ask for services for the child. Then the relationship went downhill. So I'd like to share with the panel, does it sound familiar?
Yes.
Yes.
I can just address that. Like I said, I've been a foster parent for 8 years. And I have to say, up until I got my case, I had a pretty good relationship with all the caseworkers that I previously had. I really didn't have any problems with them. This last supervisor and caseworker were both new to the system. So therefore, they didn't know a lot of stuff. My little girl that I just had, she was 3. She came to me at 2. She had 3. Oh God, I'm trying to get it together. No, she had caseworkers. No, she had the early childhood intervention. 3 applications filled out before that child from me. She never got her services. Now by the time she's 3, she's aged out. I literally got on the phone and made phone calls so that I can get the services for my child. Now this is a year that she's been in my home. Okay, so like I said, with the worker that I had this last group of children, and I had 3 of them, all siblings. He was just not informed. So because he wasn't informed, I ended up suffering. And then when this OSI came through, it was like he don't remember anything. You know, I asked in October to transfer my child out of that school because I had so many problems with that school. Also, the parents came up to the school because they had the rights to visit the school, whatever. They complained. In October, I asked for my child to be removed, and at the end of November, November 27th, I believe it was when my child got hurt. This is time that my child should have been somewhere else, and we wouldn't have had that situation. But like I said, it shouldn't have been called against me. It should have been called against the school, because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. But then on the other hand, the supervisor, I couldn't get to my caseworker. I called the supervisor. She's telling me on Friday that my child didn't have to go to a doctor until Monday. But I had planned to take her on that Saturday, and then she calls me and tells me, oh, there's a visit on Saturday, which happened to be at the same time my child was supposed to be going to a doctor. Conflict of interest. But as far as they're concerned, I didn't take her to the doctor. They're not saying that the supervisor should have canceled that visit. I should have took my child to the doctor at that time, and then things would have been covered. So, like I said, previously, my workers and I had no problem. This last group of people, waste of time.
My first couple of years as a foster parent, I had, excuse me, I had 2 boys. They gave me 2 babies, the age of 1 and 2. I asked from 7 to 11, okay? But I made it do what it do, okay? Now the problem was that I wasn't getting the assistance that I needed either. But my thing was, my mother taught me well, and I was on my job. My kids was at the doctor before they even came to call me to say, well, Mr. Tingman, you have to set up an appointment for your kids. For what? They just went to the doctor 2 weeks ago. So they're pretty much lacking on their job as to what they're supposed to be doing for these kids, and that's one of the things that I'm really disturbed about. You know what I'm saying? As of right now, I'm still fighting to get my boys back. He's in a Bronx Children's Medical Hospital right now. You understand what I'm saying? I'm up there every weekend working to get them to come home and do home visits. Now we getting to the point where they're getting to do the overnights. Eventually he'll be out of there. You understand what I'm saying? But with no support, it's just looked at as nothing. You understand what I'm saying? So I pretty much understand what you're saying, you know?
So my situation was very different again, but I experienced the same thing. My relationship with the workers was fine as long as I made it easy for them. As long as, you know, I didn't rock the boat and I made it easy. If you wanted to do a visit and I could get off work early and I could be there before 5 o'clock so that you can do that visit, then everything's fine. You had no issues with me. But when I said you have to do this visit when I get off work, then that was an issue. When I said you can no longer see my children at their after school program and embarrass them, then that was an issue because you want to get to the after school program at 4 o'clock because you want to leave at 5 o'clock. When I said you cannot talk and discuss a case with my children in the hallway in the agency, you need to put them in a private room and talk to them because they have rights, then that was an issue and I was impossible. When I said that my child who was going to college needs certain things and we needed to get these things and we needed to follow what needed to be done so that she can get these things, then that was an issue. One of my children was sent to Africa through Harlem Children's Zone. I had to go to court to get a passport. And when I had to have the judge order the agency to drive my child way upstate to get an expedited passport, then I was a troublemaker. But my child went to Africa.
Okay. Because they don't want the kids to experience.
And I pretty much had the same type of situation just this weekend with my son doing his home visit. Now last week, they brought him to my home at 11:30 in the morning, okay? This week, it was like 1:30, 2 o'clock, something like that. So I asked the lady, like, what was the reason for you bringing my child in? You understand? Because you're taking away from his time. Oh, well, I had to do this, I had to do that. I had to drop a kid off in, she said Manhattan first. And from Manhattan, she went, like, out towards Queens. I live in Brooklyn. So that means you passed my house to take care of somebody else before you brought my child to me. But you don't see a concern in that, though. Oh, well, you can take it up. Yeah, I am going to take it up. Because that's unfair to him as well as me. She had me sitting out there for 2 hours. Now, if the shoe was on the other foot, I had done waiting for 2 hours. Guess what? They had to cancel the visit. He would never get another one. You understand what I'm saying? So, yes, I did make the request of what was going on. But like I said, I didn't want to be a pain in the behind about it. I just wanted it to be addressed. So that way y'all know who y'all dealing with. Because we do have to stand up for our own rights as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our panelists. So we can give them a round of applause again. Thank you all. Okay, you guys.